geography is one of your core subjects of UPSC exam. Okay, core subject meaning when you take geography, it comprises a significant part of almost 25% of the syllabus. So let us start with geography today. Just try and tell me what idea you have regarding sections of geography. Anything that you know in geography?
It's physical geography.
Yes, there is something called as physical geography. Okay, then?
Oceanography.
Oceanography, very good. Then?
Climatology.
Climatology is there, very good. Then?
Human geography.
Human geography. What do you study in human geography?
Like their about our ancestors, ma'am. From
okay. You're talking about population, different types of population. Okay, good. Yes. Anybody else? Any idea about geography? Okay, so we will just try to see geography is one of your core subjects of UPSC exam. Okay, core subject meaning when you take geography, it comprises a significant part of almost 25% of the syllabus. So you have four core subjects, HEGP, history, economics, geography, and polity. In that, geography is very, very important because without geography, you will be unable to finish up with your essays, or your geography is the basic foundation to understanding your climate change, disaster, environment, etc. So geography knowledge, base of the knowledge is very, very important. Once you understand this subject from the basics, it will lay a foundation for you to crack your prelims exam questions also and your mains exam questions also. So in your prelims exam, direct questions from geography accounts to almost 10 to 12 questions. And when you combine your environment and geography together, it accounts for almost 20 questions. So it is almost 1/5 of the paper. Majority of the chunk of the paper is geography and environment combined. And geography and environment, day by day, the share of the questions coming out in the question paper is increasing day by day. So geography is a very important subject when it comes to your preparation. So you cannot tell that I don't like geography or I am thinking of skipping some parts of geography. So we will not arrive at that situation at all. And I'll try to make clear all the concepts that are necessary for you from NCERT to standard textbooks, so that you are able to read, understand, and crack questions in prelims as well as mains. So when it comes to your mains questions, direct questions from geography account for almost 6 to 7 questions. And your questions from environment, which are loosely based on geography, are another 5 to 6 questions. So it is almost close to 100 plus marks, which you cannot neglect and becomes very, very important and crucial in your preparation. So you have to develop the art of answer writing for geography, which is slightly bit different from your other subjects which you follow. Okay. So for geography, you need to follow a pattern, you need to put a block diagram, all these things as and how we progress with the syllabus, I'll be able to tell it to you and you will be able to carry forward with it. Okay, so this is the importance of the subject that I have talked to you. So importance, you cannot neglect it. It is almost 1/5, sometimes 1/4 of the paper, both in your prelims and your mains. Most of your essays nowadays, because of your climate change and other factors, they are based on your geography knowledge. So you need to write at least 1.5 page of geography in your essay minimum. So if you're writing a good essay and you're writing a good part of geography, it accounts for almost 5 pages out of 16 pages, whatever you're writing. So minimum you have to write at least 1 to 1.5 page. So it is important that you get a good understanding and the basic knowledge and foundation of this subject. Any doubt you have, please do stop me and you try to ask me. Okay, and in geography, the syllabus is comparatively vast and boundaries for the syllabus is a bit difficult. So don't go away into the loop of learning more and more in geography. Learn to limit yourself. Limiting yourself is very, very important, because you will not understand. You will feel each and everything is very, very important. You cannot run behind each and every animal. You cannot run behind each and every country, etc. So based on your current affairs that are occurring in the news, you have to limit yourself and your study. Don't go too much into depth that you lose track of it and you lose your syllabus track itself. So don't go like that. It is going to be a waste of time. So stick to NCERT and some standard textbooks, which I mentioned now. And after that, please stick to newspaper. Limit your knowledge to newspaper. Don't go beyond the newspaper. So you don't need research papers. All this knowledge is not necessary. You need a bit of knowledge which is superficial and in depth. So superficially, you cannot crack the exam. A bit depth is necessary, which is provided by the textbook and the newspaper. So please limit yourself to that and just don't go too much into depth researching into geography unless you are an optional student. If you are an optional student, then you need more theories, etc. But if you are just appearing and preparing it from GS point of view, this knowledge of standard textbooks and newspaper is more than enough. So stick to that. First, prepare from that perspective and try to cover the syllabus. And then you can get into the depth of understanding it. Okay. So basically, if you have to start reading geography, you have to read geography from 6th standard NCERTs. So please download or you can take a printout, Xerox, or purchase a textbook of NCERT from 6th standard. 6th standard to 12th standard is preferred. So 6th to 12th is a good base for your preparation. So start from 6th standard. Okay. So we will begin with class 1 of geography. And today I'll just tell you what you're supposed to study in geography, and we'll begin with your basic terminologies. So when we see your geography, there are two broader parts. One is called as your physical geography and the other is called as your human geography. So what is there in your physical geography? Physical geography is the theory part of it that you study from scientific point of view of geomorphology. And geomorphology is all about your Earth's crust. That is the land part. Okay, so the land part, the Earth's crust part, the outer surface of the Earth, that is called as your geomorphology. Everything about the crust and the land. In short, you can also call it as your lithosphere. So this part is the first chapter that you have to study in your physical geography. Second part is the climatology, where you study about the Earth's atmosphere. And the third part is your oceans. Fourth is your biogeography, which we call it as your environment. So it is your environment part, which you study as a separate subject and a syllabus itself. So oceans is the third part. So these parts of geography are called as your physical geography parts, which are the physical features of geography. So physical features meaning it explains the nature of Earth's surface, how it is, the crust. What are the characteristics of Earth's atmosphere? That is your temperature, pressure. Okay, so how are your winds? So all rainfall, weather phenomena, everything comes in your climatology. And the third part is your oceans. So in oceans part, what are you doing? In oceans part, we are studying about the different oceans that are there and what is the salinity that is present. What are the different types of resources you have in the oceans? Okay, so how is it adding to your economy? How is it important in regulating your temperature, climate, etc. So impact of ocean on our climate, weather, etc. All these things you have to study. And in the first chapter, geomorphology, everything that is happening on the land of the Earth. Everything that is happening on the land of the Earth, meaning your mountains, rivers, if you have any volcano, if you have any earthquake, glaciers are there, you have your limestones, etc. Caves are there, etc. Everything on the land, how is it formed? So when you read this physical aspects of geography, that we call it as your physical geography. So once you study this physical geography, this knowledge you're going to take and you're going to apply it to gain your economic benefit. So how are we going to get economic benefit? One is we settle in regions where there is good economy. We don't like to go to poorer regions. We are settling down in regions where you have good economy and you get jobs and you have resources. So resources are very, very important. What type of resources do we need? We need mineral resources. Wherever you have mineral resources, you set up your industries. So you try to actually come out with economic benefit out of these resources. Other than that, using your resources, what do? You do your agriculture. So human geography, you will have to study about where your human population grows, how it settles. Next, according to your Earth's crust, what are the mineral resources available and what industries you are setting up? Where is it suitable to do agriculture and what are types of agriculture that we are doing today? Transport and communication. And the last one is your energy. So this is more or less the breakup of your syllabus. Okay, so when you're studying your physical, you will study geomorphology, climatology, and oceans. You have to study it from the perspective of India and the world, both. Okay, so and next you come to human geography. In human geography, you're doing 5 chapters. One is population, second is minerals and industries, agriculture, transport and communication, energy. So whenever now, as and how we cover the syllabus, whenever you see an article in the newspaper regarding these topics, then you should understand. Once we cover the syllabus, you will understand and you will know that what is in the syllabus and what is not in the syllabus. Respective topics, that which comes out in the paper, please make it a note to read it and to make short notes if necessary. Otherwise, reading it also will suffice. Okay, so that is how you will prepare. And these are the topics broadly that I have classified. So now when you see your geography, your paper of geography, when you see it in the exam, it is not direct questions that come from your textbook or your NCERT. Okay, so it is not just direct questions that appear. It is analytical question where you have to understand the concept of geography, why there is wind in one place, why there is desert in one place, and why next to desert you have vegetation. Okay, so why next to desert you have grassland, where does grass appear, why grassland doesn't have trees. All these things analytical concept wise you have to understand them. So try to understand them by concept so that you will be able to eliminate all the options, or at least statement wise questions. Now you are seeing there is a change in the trend itself. So you should be able to tell whether the statement is true or false. So you will be able to come to a conclusion when you know the basic foundation. So basic foundation, please understand the concept entirely. Without understanding the concept, it becomes very, very difficult. Okay, so you don't get direct questions. They are based on concept. So for example, if you take any paper of geography, if there are 12 to 14 questions in any part of your geography paper, hardly 5 to 6 questions are this conceptual based. And rest of the 8 to 10 questions mostly are from the mapping section. So mapping is very, very important. Okay, so whenever we are doing classes, simultaneously, I'll give you the map work. So please keep a separate book or a separate note for your maps alone. And whenever you find any article in newspaper, okay, for example, your prime minister is going on a trip to some region, then you're supposed to know the name of the country, where he has gone, what are the regions he has visited. For example, the last trip was to Egypt. So you should know about Egypt, India, Egypt relationships, geography of Egypt. Okay, so next to Egypt, which ocean is there, which seas are there, which are the important rivers of Egypt other than Nile River. Okay, so all these things geography wise you're supposed to know about the country because it is important. Your prime minister has visited the country. So something like this, a prime minister has gone and visited, or your president has gone and visited, or we have some new strategic relationship going on with a new country, you should know some geography of this region. Now, for example, you are aware of the crisis that is going on in Manipur. Okay, so Manipur crisis is going on. So Manipur, there are tensions in Manipur. So now you have tribes of Manipur. Okay, so there is a tension going on between 2 tribes of Manipur. So now he's definitely going to concentrate on the northeastern tribes. So you should know the northeastern tribes. You should study northeastern tribes under this part of your population. So here you have population. So population, tribe is also a type of population. So you should know about it. Then you should know definitely about the geography of Manipur a little bit in depth. Which are the rivers that are present? Do they have any important lake? Are there mining regions in Manipur? Are they mining anything there? All these things become important because the region is in news. Okay, so when any region in India significantly is in news, please try to learn the geography of it through maps. Very clearly, I'm telling through maps. So mapping is very, very important. Majority of the questions I'm talking in prelims is based on maps. Mains is concept based and it is current affairs based. It is easy. Mains, you can target it. Once you have cleared prelims, mains doesn't become so hard to come down to a conclusion what comes and what not comes, and you'll be prepared for it. But preparing for prelims from mapping perspective is very, very important. So whenever you're reading in the textbook, if he is giving any example, please note down of the example. I'll try to discuss most of the examples. I cannot discuss all the examples. So whenever you're reading, please try to make a note of these examples and you please concentrate on mapping. Keep a separate section. I'll try to do maximum mapping from my end. But later on, as I said, as and how news comes out from the regions, you should be able to make your own notes. It is all that we are trying to help you to prepare in a better way. So we can teach you in this 40-50 hours of sessions how to make your notes for it. And then further, you're supposed to propel your studies on your own. Okay, so do mapping section. Mapping is very, very important. Okay, so once you are concentrating like this, your preparation for prelims will be mostly to the mark. Okay, so don't neglect your mapping section. Every class I'll give you mapping assignments. Please do that assignments. Next class we will discuss them. Okay, so that is how we will follow and that is how we will do. So when it comes to your geography now, when you have physical geography and human geography, first always you have to start with physical geography. Don't jump to human geography. When you jump to human geography, it becomes difficult. You will not understand head and tail of it. You will not understand why only in certain places of India you have iron and why not everywhere, and why in certain places of India there are no minerals at all. There is absence of minerals. So you'll not understand that. So this is on the basis of rock structures that are present in India. How are the rocks formed? What are the types of rocks? Everything is present in physical geography. So always please try to understand physical geography first, read physical geography first. From physical, then later go to human geography. It becomes easier. Okay, it becomes easier. It becomes more logical. It becomes more analytical. You'll be able to understand, okay, why in this place there is more human population. Okay, so why in this place there is less population? Why in this place there is less transport and communication? All these things you'll be able to understand once you understand your physical geography. So physical geography also, there are 3 important chapters as discussed. One is geomorphology, climatology, and your oceans. So today I'll just try to discuss some basic terminologies that you have to understand. Okay, so basic terminologies are very, very important. One, it helps you to crack prelims question correctly. Second, it improves your language of presentation in mains itself. Okay, so in mains now you cannot, you don't have the luxury of words. You have to be appropriate according to the situation, and your comprehension and vocabulary should be up to the mark. So please make it a note to know the basic terminologies, and whenever you find important geographical term, please make sure that you use that term in the answer. So whenever you're reading it in your question paper or whenever you're reading it in the newspaper or your textbook, please underline those important terms and please make a note of it to write it properly there. For example, there is a place of high pressure, make it a note to write it as high pressure. You cannot write in a region there is more and more wind, more and more wind. You're using 3 words and there is no technicality only here. Instead of that, use high pressure. Examiner is also understanding and you're also conveying it in a better way. So basic terminologies are very, very important, and each and every chapter you have basic terminologies. So when I come to the beginning of the chapter, I'll give you the terminologies and you'll be able to catch up with them. But whenever you read and you find any important terminology, which is geographical term, please underline it and make sure that you write it in your mains exam. Otherwise, it is not going to serve the purpose in any way. Okay, so you writing elaborate sentences like this without the geographical term, significant amount of marks will be cut for this. So make sure in mains that you use the geographical term. Okay, so now when it comes to your basic terminologies, first we have to understand what is geography. What is your geography? Geography is two terms. One is geo and another is graphy. Geo is earth and graphy is study. Okay, so geography, it is two terms. One is your geo, meaning earth, and the other is graphy, which is study. So studying earth is geography. So geography very clearly in your syllabus is mentioned. So we will stick to earth and its features. Okay, so we are not bothered about what else is happening in the universe. We are not bothered about your black holes, what happens when black hole merges, etc., etc. That part comes very clearly under your science and technology. We will stick to earth and the study of earth. Okay, so before we go into this, can you please briefly tell me how many planets we have in your solar system? You all have to respond. Otherwise, it is going to be one-way communication and I'll not know whether you're understanding or not. So please respond. Please talk and please. Yes, somebody?
We have 8 planets.
Yeah, we have 8 planets. Can anybody name them?
Mercury, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
Very good. Mercury,
Venus,
Venus,
Earth, Mars,
Mars,
Jupiter,
Jupiter,
Saturn,
Saturn,
Uranus,
Uranus, Neptune.
Neptune.
See, earlier we had 9 planets. Pluto was removed as a planet. Okay, so once Pluto was removed, now you have 8 planets. So Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, these 4 planets are called as your terrestrial planets. So what do we mean by terrestrial planets? So terrestrial planets means now there is a planet, and when you try to land on this planet, there is a hard surface here on which you can land. For example, now we are sending Chandrayaan-3. The lander will go and it will do a soft landing on moon because the outer surface is hard. So when outer surface is hard, you can land on it like this. So you're landing. Okay, so outer surface has to be hard. So the first 4 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, these first 4 planets are called as terrestrial planets because they have cooled down significantly and their formation is more or less stable, and they are old planets. So their outer surface is nice and hard. So when you have a hard outer surface, they are called as terrestrial planets. The next category is your Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn, now when you're trying to go to Jupiter and Saturn, have you seen anybody do any landing missions on your Jupiter and Saturn? NASA or your ISRO, they never do it. They're doing it only on terrestrial planets. They're trying to go to Mars, they're trying to go to Venus, they're trying to do something with these 2 planets. But whenever they're doing a study on Jupiter and Saturn, they're studying it from far. They're not telling that we are going to send something to launch on it and something to land on it. So they're never doing something like that. Okay, so the outer layers of Jupiter and your Saturn are completely gas. The outer layer is completely gas. So our outer layer is the crust, that is the continent on which we are surviving. But when you try to go to Jupiter and Mars, outer layer is completely gas. So they are called as your gaseous planets. The outer layer is completely gas, and you'll be going deeper inside your Jupiter and Saturn, but you'll never realize it because you're crossing over gaseous layers. So these gaseous layers are still coming close together and consolidating themselves. They're forming into a layer. That is why Saturn also still has rings around it like this, which is made up of dust and other small rocky particles. So you have layers of gas, dust, and some rocky particles surrounding the planets. So the outer layer is completely made up of gas. Okay, so the first category is terrestrial planets. The second category is gaseous planets. Third category is your Uranus and Neptune. They are so far away from your sun that they do not receive good amount of sunlight. So now these are called as your frigid planets. Outer layer is made up of gas, dust, rocks. Frigid, the outer layer is frozen. Anything that is frozen in geography is called as frigid. Why is it frozen? It is frozen because it is at a farther distance from the sun. Okay, so this is how your three categories of planets are found, and your Earth is here. Earth is a terrestrial planet, means it has cooled down significantly, and the outer layer is completely hard. It is stratified into lithosphere. It has hard rocky surface. Okay, so the outer surface is hard and rocky. That is your Earth. Okay, so if you're writing this, please write down. Next, now coming to your Earth. Can anybody please answer a very simple question? Why is your solar system called as solar system?
As all the planets revolve around the sun.
Very good. Okay, so sun is the center and all the planets are revolving around the sun. Okay, so all the planets are going around the sun in clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. So what do we mean by clockwise direction? According to the direction of the clock. This is clockwise. And this is going to be anti-clockwise. So the planets go around the sun in clockwise fashion or in anti-clockwise fashion, or Earth for that matter. Earth goes around the sun in clockwise or anti-clockwise?
Anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise, very good. Okay, so most of the planets go around the sun in anti-clockwise. Okay, so Earth also goes around in anti-clockwise. Can you just tell which are the two planets that go around the sun in clockwise direction?
Venus and Uranus.
Very good.
Venus and
Venus
Uranus.
and Uranus. Venus and Uranus are two planets which go around the sun in clockwise direction. The rest of them go around in anti-clockwise direction. Okay. So now when in your solar system, the sun is the center of your system and all the planets are going around the sun. And Venus and Uranus are the only two planets which go around in clockwise. Rest of all the others, 7 planets go around, 6 planets go around the sun in anti-clockwise fashion. Earth also goes around in anti-clockwise fashion. Okay, anybody has any idea of what are the layers of sun you have? The layer is something like this. In school, we simplified it like this.
And corona, chromosphere.
Corona, then
Chromosphere.
chromosphere. Okay, then
Photosphere.
Photosphere. Very good. So you need to know it in very simple terms, not much in depth. You have core of the earth. Obviously, core is the center and it is the hottest part. Okay, it is the center and it is the hottest part. Outside the core, you have another layer known as your convective current. So convection is a method of heating. Okay, so it is a method of heating that is found in your liquids and your gases. When we come to your Earth's layers, so when we are studying the core of the Earth, we'll do this convective currents in depth. For now, you understand it is a method of heating in case of your liquids and gases. So you have a convective zone, and then outside that you have your photosphere. And the outermost part is your corona. So whenever we are looking at the sun on a normal day, morning sunrise, when you're seeing and you see a orange color sun like this, you're directly looking at the photosphere. You're not looking at the corona. Corona is not visible to naked eye on normal days. So every day, normal days, your photosphere is the visible part. Okay, so it is the inner layer that is of the sun that we are seeing. We are not seeing the outer layer. Outer layer is corona. We don't see the outer layer. We are seeing one layer inner to it, and it is your photosphere. Okay, so corona, when do you see your corona? Corona is visible only on the day of eclipse. So whenever you have solar eclipse, on that day, your corona is visible. Otherwise, you don't see corona. Okay. Next, your sun, how does it release so much heat? So sun is giving out heat, meaning there is one or the other reaction that is going on in the sun. So the reaction that is going on in the sun is nuclear fusion, where hydrogen plus hydrogen is forming your helium. So hydrogen and helium obviously will be the major components of Earth. Sorry, major components of sun. And average temperature of sun is considered to be somewhere around 6,000 degrees Celsius. Okay, so your nuclear fusion reaction occurs where hydrogen and hydrogen combines to form your helium. And when this process occurs, it is releasing heat. That heat comes to you in the form of sunlight during daytime. Okay, so nuclear fusion goes on in the sun consistently day and night. Okay, so now I think if you read your newspaper today and tomorrow, there will be something called as your solar flare. So whenever your solar flare comes, your network, etc. is down. So we are seeing the effects already from today evening. So your network, etc., you're finding that your connectivity is slow and your systems are working slow. That happens because of solar flare. So whenever solar flare comes and it crosses over your Earth, you have blackout of internet and communications. Okay, so whenever you see your sun here, you'll see some dark spots in sun, which are called as sunspots. Okay, so sun is not like a cup of tea which is small and has uniform temperature everywhere, that you take a sip of it and you find that the temperature is uniform. Sun is something not like that. Sun has different temperatures on its surface. More or less it is average same, but there are some places where it appears more cooler. Why it is more cooler? Your nuclear fusion reaction is slower or lesser comparatively. So when you have cooler or lesser nuclear fusion reactions going on, that part of the sun appears darker, and these are called as your sunspots. So when you have a sunspot here like this, you have a sunspot which is more cooler comparatively because there is less nuclear fusion occurring. After some time, what happens? The surrounding region, because here it is less, the surrounding region, you have flares coming out like this. Flares are nothing like hot gases they are. Okay, so in North India, you're aware of heat waves. Suddenly there is a hot mass of air coming to you and heating your entire region, causing a lot of humidity, heat, etc. So similarly, next to this, now it will start releasing some flares. These flares now from the sun, they move like this and they cross over your planets. So when they are coming towards the earth, it brings some amount of heat, not much. It brings some amount of heat, but it fails your microwave communication. Microwave communication cannot happen. So wireless communication, whatever is there, it affects your wireless communication largely, and then it causes failure in your microwave communication. So sunspots are the spots where you have slightly cooler temperature. It is not very, very cool and all. It is slightly cooler temperature. So you have slightly cooler temperature because there is less reactions of fusion going on. Next to it now, this is transferred to this region, and here it is accelerated. Here it is accelerated, and then it starts releasing flares from here. Okay, so it starts releasing flares from here. These flares now, when they become very hot, they escape from the sun. They move away from the sun like this. They start moving. They cross over your planets. When they come closer to Earth, they bring some hot spells, of course. So there is some heat, but mainly it affects your communication. Okay, so this is another thing about your solar flares and your communication impact that you regularly read in your newspapers. Other than sun, do we have any other source of heat? Any other source of heat on Earth? Other than Earth's
core of the earth, ma'am.
Core of the earth. Okay, core of the earth. But externally, when you see heat, it is only your sun. Sun is the only source of heat. And this energy is in the form of heat. Okay, so now let us come to Earth. So when we come back to Earth, Earth now, when you see Earth, what is the color of Earth?
Blue.
Blue planet. Why do you call it as blue planet? More than 70% of the Earth is filled with water.
Because it appears blue, though water, like because of refraction, it appears like.
Very good. Okay, so because of refraction, water appears blue in color. So more than 70% of Earth is made up of water. Hence, we call it as your blue planet. Okay. So can anybody tell me what is the shape of Earth?
Geoid.
Geoid shape. What do you mean by geoid shape?
It's not a perfect sphere.
It is not a perfect sphere. Can you give an
Flat-
example?
flat
Geoid
at
shape.
Flat
bottom
at the
and top.
poles.
Flat at the poles. Very good. Okay. Somebody else also was saying something. Okay. So coming to the Earth shape, geoid. So we say that it is
நான்
bulged
உள்ள
at the
இருந்தேன்னா
center.
குடும்பமே உள்ள இருப்பாங்க. இங்க எதுக்கு இப்ப வந்திருக்காங்க தெரியல. இதான் முன்னாடி உட்கார்ந்து விளையாடிட்டு இருக்கீங்க.
Somebody is speaking in
Aram
Tamil.
mute. Aram mute.
It is bulged at the center and it is flat here at the poles. Can you name a fruit which is like this?
Orange.
Very good. Orange. Orange, sweet lime, Mosambi. So now orange season is not there. So whenever you take an orange and you keep it on the table, orange stands in a place. Orange doesn't roll and go away. Okay, so orange stands in a place. You can keep it upright like this and you will see the tip of it at the top. So the same thing happens with sweet lime also. You can keep it like this and you can see the top of it. Why you can do it? Because orange and your sweet lime, Mosambi, when you see, their bottom is flat like this. And then you have the fruit like this on the top. Okay, so the bottom is flat, so it sits. Okay, so whenever your ends are flat, that is your poles. Okay, so this is called as a pole and this is called as a pole. So whenever your ends are flat and in the center it is bulged, it is called as geoid shape. Can anybody please try and answer how your center is bulged and why it is flat at the poles?
Is it because of the gravity?
Because of the gravity. Okay.
To receive
Any-
maximum sunlight, ma'am.
Because it receives maximum sunlight. Okay.
To receive maximum sunlight.
Okay. Any other answer? Okay. See, if this pen I take and I tie a stone with it, I tie a stone with a rope or a thread, and then I start rotating it, what will happen? What will happen to the stone? The stone will come and it will start revolving here at the top. Okay, so when I tie a stone with a thread to this pen and I start revolving it like this, you would have seen keychain. Okay, so keychain, you put it into your finger and then you start rotating it like this. What happens? Your keychain comes to the top here. Okay, so keychain comes to the top, or when you take the pen, the stone comes here to the center. Okay, so it comes here and it starts accumulating or it starts circulating here at the top. Same thing happens in case of your earth. When earth is spinning and earth is spinning at a faster rate, earth rotates also at a faster rate, earth spins also at a faster rate. So when earth is spinning like this at a faster rate, all the components that are there at the pole, they move to the center like this, and it bulges at the center, and the components that are there in the pole have come to the center. Hence, it bulges here. So geoid shape of earth is because of
Rotation and revolution.
rotation of earth. Rotation of earth causes this bulging at the center. Okay, so when rotation happens, everything comes to the center flat because the poles are flat. Okay, so this is your geoid shape. So earth is geoid in shape and you have poles at your both the ends. This is called as your north pole. This is called as your south pole. Okay, so speed of rotation is also high. So speed is high. That is why it bulges. If it is slow rotation, then it doesn't bulge. Slowly you rotate the keychain. Will it come to the top of your finger like this and rotate at the center? It will not come. So you need optimum speed. So there is high speed of rotation in case of your earth. Okay. So next, now coming to your earth, when you see your globe, you would have seen that there are some lines like this. And there are some lines like this. So can you tell me what are these horizontal lines?
Latitude.
latitude,
Very good, latitude. And these vertical lines are called as
Longitude.
longitude,
longitude. Coming very quickly to your latitude. Can you tell me the important latitudes of Earth?
Equator,
Equator.
Very good.
Tropic
0
of
degree
Cancer.
equator.
Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn,
Tropic of,
23
what is there at 23.5 degree north?
Tropic of Cancer.
Cancer,
Tropic of Cancer,
Tropic of Capricorn,
23.5 degrees south is Tropic of Capricorn. What is there at 66.5 degree north?
Arctic Circle.
Arctic Circle. (66.5 degrees south is
Antarctic Circle.
Antarctic Circle. Why these numbers exactly? Why we have taken 0, 23.5, 66.5? So when you see a circle, circle has how many degrees? Circle has 360 degrees. When you divide it into 4 quadrants, this is 0 degree, this is 90 degree, this is 180 degree, this is 270. And at 360, it comes and combines with your 0 degrees. So there are 360 degrees. Okay, so 360 degrees. Now we'll consider only the northern hemisphere. So when you're drawing a latitude, you're drawing it from one end to another end, like this. So when you're drawing it from one end to another end like this, so you'll name it as 1 degree, 2 degree, meaning here it is 1 degree, here it is 179 degree. Here it is 178 degree. So like that 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, you have drawn the lines. So it comes to the north here at 90 degrees. So that is why you have 90 degrees in the top northern hemisphere. This upper part above 0 degree is called as a hemisphere. This is northern hemisphere, this is southern hemisphere. Similarly, you have 1 degree south, 2 degrees south, etc. So you have 90 degrees in the southern hemisphere. And put together, the number of latitudes are 0 degree plus 90 in the north and plus 90 in the south.
181.
So you have 181 latitudes. Okay, so we have 181 latitudes. Now from 0 to 90, if you see, we are dividing Earth into 2 parts. 0, then this is 1 part, 2 part, 3 part. So it would have been convenient to divide it 30, 60, 90. Why have we chosen the number 23.5, 66.5? Why that number? Please answer. I have not met you also. I'm not going to meet you also unless you want to meet me. I'm not going to scold or I'm not going to do anything like that. I don't have any internal marks. Okay, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to complain to your parents. Please be free. Answer. When you try to answer, what happens is in the class you are communicating, you'll understand the way you're thinking in. So when in prelims you're trying to solve question, you will understand whether I'm thinking in the right direction or not. So you'll be brave to make one choice. So tell your answers and make your mistakes in the class only. None of you know each other. So it is not going to be an issue like offline class also. So that is the convenience of online class. Answer, try to answer. When you answer more, you'll be able to make choices better. Okay, so please try and answer.
As far as I know, Antarctic Circle and Arctic Circle, like they represent 2/3. From the center, if we come, it is the 2/3 point.
2/3. How come it is 2/3 and not 60 degrees? Why it is 66.5?
Like there are totally 180 latitudes, 90 upside and 90 downside, 90 south and 90 north. So if we calculate 2/3 of 90 is 66.
2/3 of 90 is 66. Okay.
Sorry, ma'am. It is 2/3 of 90 is 60. I'm sorry.
60. So it is 66.5 now. Okay, so it's okay. You made a good attempt. So you're trying to tell that it is 2/3 part. So maybe at that
Nearly 2/3 part.
Nearly 2/3, and we have drawn that line. Okay. Anybody else?
Due to the tilt of the Earth,
Due to presence of?
Due to the tilt of the earth.
Resistance
Tilt of the tilt of the earth. Tilt of
very
the
good, very good, very good. So all of you have seen your globe in your school and all, you had globes, right? So how was your globe? Your globe used to be something like this. Earth used to be slanting like this, and then you had a ring around it like this, and it would have a stand. Okay, so globe was always tilted like this. Globe was never straight. Okay, so whenever you see a globe, it is always tilted. It is not that we just like a sleeping earth. Earth is like that, only tilted. Okay, so when you see the earth, if this is your north pole and this is your south pole, in reality, it is not like that. There is a tilt. Means your north pole is actually present here. And your south pole is actually present here. So you have a north pole and you have a south pole which is tilted, and it is tilted by 23.5. Okay, so whenever you see the earth, you have a north pole here and you have a south pole here, and we draw a line connecting this north pole and south pole. So this imaginary line, it is an imaginary line. We are only drawing that line. Earth has not drawn any line. Human beings, for our ease, we are drawing that line. So imaginary line which connects North Pole and South Pole is called polar axis. Okay, so it is called as polar axis. Polar axis now has a tilt of 23.5 degrees. Okay, so what happens because of this tilt? So if you consider this to be Earth and this head, white head, to be the North Pole. So if your Earth was straight like this, now there is a tilt like this, Earth is tilted like this. If it was straight like this, then when Earth goes around the sun, it goes around the sun like this in a straight fashion. It goes around the sun like this in a straight fashion. Now, because you have a tilt like this, it goes around the sun like this. Up and down, it is going around like this. Okay, so I'll just draw and I'll show you. This is a straight line. Sun is present here. We'll put the sun in the center. Now, when Earth goes around, if this was your North Pole and if this is your South Pole, Earth will go around in the straight line only, like this. It will go around in a straight line only. But now what happens? Now you have a tilt. Your sun is like this, and your Earth, because it is tilted like this, it goes around the sun like this. It goes around the sun like this in a tilted fashion. So one time it is at the top, one time it is at the bottom. So it goes around like this. So there is a tilt factor. Now, what is the impact of this tilt? So when sun goes, if it was straight like this, it would go around like this. But now you have a tilt like this, so it will go around like this. Top to bottom, it will go around like this. So there will be a slight tilt of 23.5 degrees Celsius. So when you have a tilt like this, what is the impact going to be?
climatic change, ma'am. Seasons.
Please repeat your doubt.
The result will be
The-
seasons, ma'am.
The result is seasons. If the orbit is like this, so now it is one time in this position, it is in this position. So what happens when you have a tilt like that? Okay, so considering your earth to be something like this and this to be your sun. So when it is going around like this, in this fashion, it is going around like this in this fashion, there is variable amount of sunlight received on different parts of earth. You are not receiving the same amount of sunlight on all parts of earth. You are receiving variable amount of sunlight. Okay, so what is the impact of polar axis tilt? Variable amount of sunlight is received. What is the impact of sunlight? Sunlight causes seasonal pattern. So due to your polar axis tilt, you have different types of seasons. So very briefly, we'll try to see how it will impact your seasons and how your seasons are formed. Okay. So please see, if this is your sun and if this is your earth, and it is going around like this. Okay, so it is going around like this. So when it is in a straight line like this, so what is happening to your earth? So what is happening to your earth? Your earth, if this is the center of the earth, maximum amount of sunlight falls, your sun is here, and straight in line is your earth. So what happens? Sunlight falls maximum on the equator. So when sunlight is falling directly over your equator, what happens? Your sunlight received by both your northern hemisphere and your southern hemisphere. Northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere receive equal sunlight. Why? Because your sunlight is falling directly straight on the equator of the earth. Okay, so when it falls on the equator of the earth, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. So sunlight falls like this on the center. It gets distributed half to the north and half to the south. So there is no issue. So in this case, what will happen? Northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere will have 12 hours of day and they'll have 12 hours of night. Okay, so they'll have 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, both in the northern hemisphere and in the southern hemisphere. So you have equal day and you have equal night. So whenever you see the case of summer season, your nights are very, very short and days are very lengthy. Okay, so in summer season, you can see up to 7 o'clock in the evening, you have some light sunlight outside visible. Okay, so dusk is a little lengthier. So that dim sunlight, what you get in the evening is called as your dusk. So dusk is a little lengthier, extends till 7:10, 7:15. Whereas in the morning, 5:15, 5:30, by 5:30, it is dawn. So you start receiving sunlight from 5:15 or 5:30 in the morning. In the winter, it is absolutely opposite. In the winter, what happens? 5:36, you start experiencing that there is darkness and your dusk is over by 6:30. Okay, 6 o'clock is the maximum. After 6 o'clock, it is dark. Whereas in the morning, it is 6:15 when you have to receive some sunlight. So during your summer season, your days are longer, night is shorter. During your winter season, your day is shorter, night is longer. So here, when the sunlight is falling directly on the equator, you're seeing that there is 12 hours of daylight and there is 12 hours of night. Means there is equal day and equal night. So when we come to the next case, when we see that if this is your sun and this is your earth, earth was here exactly at a straight line from your sun. Now your earth goes to this position. So when your earth goes to this position, you can see that sunlight is falling directly on the southern part of the earth and not on the northern part. This tip you can see, this is the northern part. Northern part is not receiving sunlight, whereas your southern part is receiving sunlight. So how does it look? So your sun is here, and because of the tilt, your earth appears like this. This is your 0 degree, this is your north pole, this is your south pole. So now sunlight falls directly on this line, straight. This is called as 23.5 degrees south. So sunlight, where does it fall? Sunlight is directly stationed in such a way that it falls directly onto the 23.5 degrees south. So maximum sunlight is received by this 23.5 degrees south. What is happening to the northern hemisphere? Northern hemisphere is receiving less sun. If you receive less sun, your nights are what? Nights are longer. Days are shorter. Now, when your nights are longer and days are shorter, what is the season going to be? Season is going to be winter. Okay. So now sunlight is falling directly on the southern hemisphere. So southern hemisphere is receiving more sun. When you have more sun, what happens? Nights are shorter and days are longer. So what happens in the southern hemisphere? Their season is summer. Okay, so your northern hemisphere receives less sunlight and your southern hemisphere receives more sunlight. Why? The position of the sun is something like, the position of the earth is something like this. Okay, so northern pole is here, southern pole is here. So you can see sun is directly falling on 23.5 degree north. So 23.5 degree north, it is directly, sorry, 23.5 degrees south. So sunlight is directly on southern hemisphere, 23.5 degrees south. And then you have the southern pole over here. So southern pole over here receives continuous sunlight from the sun. Okay, so the position is something like this. Then after that few days, it comes to this position. When it comes to this position, you can see sunlight is directly again falling on the equator. After that, it comes to this position. Now you can see sunlight is directly falling on the northern hemisphere and it is not falling on the southern hemisphere. So the next case that we see is you have your sun here, directly the rays of the sun, they start falling on (23.5 degree north). Now this southern hemisphere, what happens to them? They receive less sunlight. Okay, so their days are short and their nights are long and their season is winter. Whereas in the northern hemisphere, when you see, they receive more sunlight because of which they have summer. Day is longer, night is shorter. So this is how, when you see this case here, northern hemisphere is under winter and your southern hemisphere is under summer. And when you come to this case here, you see that your northern hemisphere is under summer and your southern hemisphere is under winter. So anytime, anywhere you go and see northern hemisphere, whatever season it has, southern hemisphere has inverse of it, ulta season. Okay, so northern hemisphere has one season, ulta is present in the southern. Okay, so quickly now let me tell you the seasons. So Indian seasons, we'll study it in Indian geography, but globally, these are the important seasons. So first season is your spring season. Spring season is the season when you get new leaves in your February and March. Okay, so these are the times when you have new leaves, that is called as your spring season. After which you get your summer season, where you have fruits and flowers. Okay, so fruits and flowers, for example, you can take a mango tree. So mango tree gives flowers in the month of January and February. February, March is the flowering season. So that is the time when new leaves come. Summer season, you get the fruit. And then you have autumn season. Autumn is when the tree is preparing for the winter by shedding leaves, because it has to stop photosynthesis. Anywhere the plant is shedding leaves, it wants to stop photosynthesis, because either there is no water or there is no sunlight. So one or the other problem is there, and it cannot do photosynthesis. For photosynthesis, it requires sunlight, plus it requires carbon dioxide, water, and chlorophyll. These are the 4 components. Chlorophyll is present in green plants at all times. Carbon dioxide is present in atmosphere at all times. So either there is a problem of sunlight or there is a problem of water. Most of the times, shedding of leaves is because there is no water. So when you see your cold regions, it is covered under ice in winter, so they don't have water. So what they do, because water is in the frozen state, they shed their leaves. Okay, so shedding of leaves is to stop photosynthesis. During winter, now what do you see? You see now leafless trees. So there are leafless trees which are present. So these are the 4 seasons that occur in cycle. Okay, so your spring season is somewhere from February to March, and then from April or May onwards, from May to your September, it is your summer season. Then your October and November is autumn season. Then your December, February again is your winter season. So this occurs in the cycle. So in northern hemisphere, when you have spring, in the southern hemisphere, you will definitely have the inverse of it. And in the southern hemisphere, you'll have autumn. Then in your southern hemisphere, if you have winter, northern hemisphere, you'll have summer. So seasons are inverse in your hemispheres. Okay, so it is inverse like this. So now we will see the position of Earth, and according to that, what seasons you have. Please draw north and south poles as I have drawn. Don't inverse them and all, and don't just randomly draw them haphazardly. Okay, so if you have drawn it like this, everywhere it has to be like this. Don't draw it here like this, then here like this, then here like this, then here like this. Don't make it like that. So for how I have drawn, please try to draw it like that until you learn. And after you learn, you can continue with your own imagination. So this will be your equator. Sunlight now directly falls on your 23.5 degree south. When it falls on 23.5 degrees south, what happens to your southern hemisphere? Southern hemisphere is under summer. And your northern hemisphere is under winter. When does this happen? This happens on 22nd December. Okay, 22nd December is called as winter solstice. Okay, so next coming to your position here. Sunlight falls directly on the equator. When sunlight falls directly on the equator, sunlight on equator. Now southern hemisphere, please see this cycle. After winter, you have to go to spring. So your northern hemisphere was under winter, so it goes to spring. Southern hemisphere was in summer, it goes to next autumn. So now your southern hemisphere will have autumn and northern hemisphere will have spring. And now if you see the date of this is going to be 21st March, which is called as spring equinox. Equinox means your sunlight is divided equally between north and southern hemisphere. So you have spring equinox. After that, when you see the position, it comes to this position here. You have your North Pole here, South Pole here, equator, and sunlight falls directly on 23.5 degree north. Sunlight falls on 23.5 degree north. So when sunlight falls on 23.5 degree north here, southern hemisphere now will have winter and northern hemisphere will have summer. Okay, so now here you have this, it occurs on 21st of June. And this is called as summer solstice. Next position, it comes here. Your North Pole is here, equator is here, South Pole is here. Sunlight is directly falling on the equator. So in the fourth case here, sunlight is on equator. And then after that, if you see your northern hemisphere had summer, means now northern hemisphere will have autumn. And your southern hemisphere will now have spring. Okay, so like this, it inverses. And when does this occur? This occurs on 23rd of September. And we call it as autumn equinox. So please see the relation here. Northern hemisphere has spring. On 21st March, you call it as spring equinox. Northern hemisphere has winter. 22nd December, you call it as winter solstice. Okay, so next here in this position, northern hemisphere has summer. 21st June, you call it as summer solstice. And northern hemisphere has autumn. 23rd September, you call it as autumn equinox. Okay, so like this, we have named it according to the season that is present in the northern hemisphere. So northern hemisphere has spring, means it is spring equinox. Northern hemisphere has winter, then you have winter solstice. Northern hemisphere has summer, then it is summer solstice. Remember the dates. So winter solstice is on 22nd December. Your spring equinox is on 21st of March. The next your summer solstice is on 21st of June. And then your autumn equinox is on 23rd of September. Okay. So you please remember. Now, can you just tell me why we have taken the season of northern hemisphere only to name the days, important days?
It may be majority of the land mass is present in the north.
Very good, very good. Okay, so it is correct answer. So majority of the land mass is in the northern hemisphere. Majority of the population is in northern hemisphere. So when majority of the population is in northern hemisphere, by convention we follow that only, and we have given the names of these. Okay, so important days, now you know where according to the position of the sun. I'll draw one more diagram where you'll understand the position of the sun on earth. This is your North Pole. This is your South Pole. And here you have your equator. Okay, so what happens to the sun? The sun is present on the equator. So position of the sun is on equator, meaning it is spring equinox. When is your spring equinox? Spring equinox is on 21st of March. Next, your sun gradually starts moving 1 degree to the top. So sun moves like this to the top up to 23.5 degree north. And in this position, it is present on summer solstice. The date is 21st of June. Next, now sun starts moving downwards, comes back to the equator. And when is it on equator now? It is in autumn equinox.
September.
Autumn equinox is on 23rd September. Next, now sun comes to the southern hemisphere. And in southern hemisphere, it is present on 23.5 degrees south on winter solstice, 22nd December. Again, sun moves north and comes to this position. That is your spring equinox. Then again,
21st March.
north, then comes down to equator, then comes down to 23.5 degrees south. So this is the movement of sun. Okay, so now what do you mean by overhead sun? Overhead sun means sun is directly on my head. When sun is directly on my head, what happens? So a person is standing like this and sun is directly overhead.
It will be very hot.
It will be very hot. Then a person is standing like this, sun is on the side.
Comparatively less heat.
Less heat, comparatively less heat. Good. Other than that, anything else can you think of?
In terms of shadow.
Very good, shadow. Come to the shadow now. Which case your shadow is less or minimal? It is in case of overhead sun. Overhead sun, your shadow is directly, whatever your body is. Okay, so directly your body is falling on your feet. So your feet area is the only area where your shadow is there and you have a minimum shadow. And in case of slanting sun, what happens? Your shadow is cast like this. So you have a larger shadow. So when you see overhead sun, you have minimum shadow, and when you have slanting sun rays, these are called as slanting. Slanting sun rays are there, you have larger shadow area. Okay, so when you have slanting sun rays and you have a larger shadow area like this. So if you, I don't think you know the torch these days. Olden days, you had that traditional torch, something like this. Okay, in which your light used to come. So whenever you're casting a direct focus, then what happens? It is falling on a smaller area. When it is a smaller area, it used to be more intense. Means it is more hot. Today also, whenever there is something fallen down and you want to search, you take your mobile and you focus it only on that area, the torch of your mobile, so that you will be able to search for a small particle, a small pin or something is fallen down. So what do? You take your phone and you focus it. You don't turn on the torchlight somewhere and you're not searching it somewhere just because there is brightness and visibility. You're trying to focus it on the smaller area and you're trying to get more clarity and visibility of it. So it is like that. So when torchlight is falling directly straight, the lines are straight. That means there is more focus on a smaller area. It is more intense. Similarly, when it is sun, it is going to be more hot. Okay, more hot, more heat received from the sun. On the other hand, when you tilt your torch like this, it covers a large area. You want to search something under the table, take it close to the ground. What happens? Focus is there on a small area. Visibility is there only in small area. You want visibility for the entire room, hold it like this. When you hold it like this, entire room is visible. There is a large area coverage, but it is less intense. Heat received is less. Okay, so when you see this case here, where is your overhead sun? Overhead sun is moving from 0 to 23.5 degree north, coming back to 0, going to 23.5 degrees south. You see these above regions here, they are never getting overhead sun. Means what? The regions which are present between 23.5 degree north and south, they are receiving maximum sunlight. So this is 23.5, 23.5. Sun is moving from north to south, from here to here only. That means
Tropic zone.
Only these zones are receiving direct sunlight. And they get maximum heat or light, which we call it as your tropic belt. Okay, so the regions which are here, they receive what? They receive slanting rays. In school, we had learned. Okay, so in school, what did you learn? In school, you had learned that sun rises at 6 a.m. It goes like this. It comes overhead and then sun sets like this. So you had learned that it goes overhead, but it is only up to 23.5 degree north. About 23.5 degree north, they never get overhead sunlight. So they are getting never overhead sun. Okay, so if you see the newspapers, I think it was in the month of May. So if you see the newspaper in the month of May, one day in each city, like for example, your Chennai will be one day, Bangalore will be one day, Hyderabad will be one day, okay, Nagpur, Bombay, etc. So he'll give 0 shadow day. 0 shadow day is nothing but your overhead sun. The day on your location, for example, now you are in South India. So here is your 23.5 degree north. So here is your 0 degree. So sun is moving day by day northwardly like this. And from March, 21st March, where the sun is on equator, it comes to this position by 21st June. So gradually sun is moving. So when gradually sun is moving, one day it is crossing over Chennai, one day it is crossing over Bangalore, one day it is crossing over Pune, one day it is crossing over your Hyderabad. So on that day when sun is overhead, over your head, that day is called as your shadow day. So 0 shadow day means your sun is overhead and you have minimum shadow cast. That is called as your 0 shadow day. Okay, so you have 0 shadow day like this, depending on the position of the sun. So here we have talked about today, most of it was the introduction of the subject itself. Then we briefly looked into the planets of the sun. Okay, so we classified the planets, then we directly jumped into your Earth directly. Okay, so we have seen that Earth is a terrestrial planet. Upon that, Earth, the shape of Earth is geoid in nature. It is bulged in the center because there is rotation of Earth and it is at high speed. That is why it is bulged in the center. Next, you have seen that there are horizontal lines and there are vertical lines. Horizontal lines are called as latitudes. These are the important latitudes: Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn, Antarctic Circle, Arctic Circle. Next, we have seen how many latitudes are there. So you are going to draw one latitude at 1 degree. So 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Northern hemisphere 90, southern hemisphere 90 plus 0. So there are 181 latitudes. Then we have seen that there is something called as polar axis. In polar axis, you have imaginary line connecting your North Pole and South Pole, and polar axis is tilted at 23.5 degrees south. So because of that 23.5 degree tilt, we have ecliptic orbit of Earth. Okay, so it is called as ecliptic orbit of Earth. So we have an ecliptic orbit of Earth where the orbit is also tilted. Because of this tilted orbit, what happens? We have position of sun at different times, different places on Earth. So because of which we are receiving unequal amount of sunlight in different parts of Earth. So when it is in the northern hemisphere has summer. When it is in the southern hemisphere has summer. So we saw these 4 positions of your sun. And then we saw this diagram also, and then the impact of red sun. See, whenever you now regarding what we are studying, please start off with NCERTs first. NCERT gives you the basic definitions and the basic foundation. So start with the NCERTs. So NCERTs, you can start from 6th standard to 12th standard. Whatever I have covered today is present in 6th standard. Okay, so 6th to 12th you can study. Other than that, at present you can purchase GC Leong. Certificate Geography. The name of the book is Certificate Geography. So you can buy this book, in which there is both your physical part and your human geography part. So in GC Leong also, he has given it in the first chapter, introduction chapter, whatever I have done today. Otherwise, I have started off with 6th standard. So we have to start with 6th standard, and later on we can go into the depth. So first 2 classes will be 6th standard geography only. So if you go to 6th standard geography, directly you will get the syllabus what we have covered today. Okay, so I'll stop the session today. Today it was introduction class, so I've covered less. Next, tomorrow class, we'll try to do it a bit in depth and a bit more faster also. So I had an issue with the whiteboard also earlier, so I was not able to open the whiteboard. So tomorrow we'll sort all those things and we'll come out better, and we'll do the class much faster, and we'll cover more syllabus for tomorrow. Okay, so please give your reviews back to your coordinator. Yes.
Can you please show the slide number 10, ma'am?
Sure. I'll share the slides also, and your coordinator will send it to you.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll share the
Thank
slides also. So your coordinator will send it to you. Okay. So thank you for the class. See you all tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, do we need to study all the NCERTs, means the whole NCERT book?
You have to study whole NCERT. I'll cover the entire NCERT. After I cover only, you can study. So as I said, I have covered first 2 chapters of NCERT today, 6th standard. So you study it according to how our classes progress, because we have 2 months of classes. So when classes progress, I'll tell you which part of NCERT we are covering. So you can study it from there.
Okay, so for now,
Okay.
6th class, first and second chapter. For today.
Study first, second chapter.
Okay, ma'am, can we get the PDF of the
Of
NCERT?
NCERTs. I'll tell your coordinator. Your coordinator will send it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other doubts? Okay. Still,
Ma'am?
if you have any doubts, yes.
Ma'am, I have a suggestion. So can we take the class a little bit slower? I feel little.
Yeah,
it is
sure. Okay, sure. I'll do it a bit slower. So whenever you want it to be slow, please tell, repeat, and please tell slow. I teach a bit faster because I have to cover more syllabus in geography. Please tell me, I'll slow down. Otherwise, also I'll try to slow down from tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Any other suggestions you have, or any other clarification?
The speed of the class is fine, ma'am, like understanding, but for taking notes, it's a bit difficult, ma'am.
Taking notes, you people don't bother about taking notes, because whatever I am writing now, I'll share the entire PDF with you all. Entire PPT, I'll send it to you. So your coordinator will send it to you.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so even if you skip 1 or 2 parts, it is okay. You will get the entire PPT. Okay, so whatever I'm writing, I'll send it to you fully.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so shall we stop the class here for today?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. See you all tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.